Lightning flashed across the highway as the semi-truck skidded sideways, metal screaming against wet asphalt. Alex Morgan slammed his old pickup to a stop so hard the seatbelt cut into his chest. In the beam of his headlights, he saw a figure stumble out of the shattered cab, then collapse in the middle of the road, clutching a toddler to her chest. Water poured from the sky in sheets. The truck hissed with steam. And the woman. She was barely conscious, her lips blue, her knees buckling as she tried to shield the child from the rain. Then the toddler lifted his head, eyes glassy with shock, and whispered a name Alex hadn't heard in years, his own. Alex. He froze. They'd never met. He was sure of that. But the little boy reached toward him with trembling fingers like he'd known Alex his whole life. And in that split second before the next flash of lightning lit the wreckage again, Alex realized he couldn't walk away. Not this time. Not tonight. Before I go any further, tell me where you're listening from tonight and hit that like and subscribe button if you believe courage still matters in this world. The storm had caught Alex on his way home from the evening shift at the Lakeside Foundry, a job he'd taken after walking away from a promising engineering career he no longer had the heart to pursue. At 38, he lived quietly in a small Wisconsin town, raising his 10-year-old son Mason the best he could. Most days, Alex fixed machinery at the plant, helped Mason with homework, and tried not to think about the life he'd lost when his wife died 5 years earlier. His world had become simple: work home, keep his boy safe. He didn't look for trouble. He didn't look for anything that might crack open the grief he'd welded shut inside himself. Neighbors knew him as the guy who kept to himself. Mason knew him as Dad, the man who showed up to every game and packed lunches with embarrassing Post-it notes. And Alex knew himself as someone who was done trying to save the world. But storms have a way of dragging buried things back to the surface. That night, wind ripped branches from trees and sent trash cans tumbling down County Road 11. Alex just wanted to get home before the power flickered out again. His plans changed the moment he rounded that bend and saw the semi-truck folded around a telephone pole like crushed foil. The woman lying on the pavement couldn't have been much younger than him, early 30s maybe, but she looked like someone who'd been running for a long, long time. Her clothes were soaked and torn, and the way she cradled the toddler told Alex she'd been holding on for far more than just safety. Something deeper. Something desperate. As he rushed toward her boots, splashing through mud and broken glass, Alex felt something he hadn't felt since the night he lost his wife, that unmistakable soul-shaking pull that said, if you don't step in, no one will. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know why the boy knew his name. But he knew one thing for sure: this moment was about to drag him into a story he never asked for, and might not be ready for. Rainwater dripped from the woman's hair as Alex lifted her and the toddler into his truck, the wind howling like it wanted to tear the door off its hinges. He didn't ask questions yet. He drove slowly, carefully back toward town, knuckles white around the steering wheel. The little boy pressed his cheek against Alex's arm, the whole ride whispering soft, broken sounds that weren't quite words anymore. By the time Alex reached the outskirts of Maple Ridge, the storm had calmed, but the night hadn't. Not inside him. Not inside the woman beside him, whose eyes kept darting to the mirrors like she expected someone to be following. He took them straight to the emergency clinic, still open for late-shift workers from the foundry. But the moment he carried the boy inside, wrapped in Alex's flannel jacket, the air snapped tight. Nurse Tina looked up from the desk, then frowned. Alex, we're short-staffed tonight, and we don't treat walk-ins without insurance forms. Her tone wasn't cruel, but it was cold enough to make the woman flinch. Alex felt the boy's tiny fingers dig into his shirt. He needs help, Alex said softly. He can barely keep his eyes open. Dr. Hayden stepped out from the back room, irritation already tightening his jaw. He was the kind of physician who still called Alex maintenance, even though they'd grown up in the same town. "What's going on?" Hayden asked, his eyes flicking from Alex to the woman. "Who are they?" "I don't know," Alex admitted. "Found them after a wreck on Highway 12. Hayden sighed loudly, one of those sighs meant to make you feel like a burden. "So, they're transients," he muttered. "You can't keep bringing strays in here every time you feel heroic." Alex stiffened, but didn't rise to it. He never did. That was the thing people liked about him until they didn't. Until they wanted someone to blame. The woman tried to stand, but staggered. "I have ID," she whispered. "Please, just look at him. He's burning up." Hayden folded his arms. "Ma'am, if you're under the influence or living off-grid, you should know we're required to notify Child Protective Services. She's asking for help," Alex snapped sharper than he meant to. The room went very still. He hardly ever raised his voice. Not since his wife died. Not since he learned the hard way how quickly things could break. Hayden blinked, thrown off. "Look, I can give him a quick check. But Alex, after this you need to stop taking on problems that aren't yours. You have a son to think about." The implication stung. Like Alex didn't already worry every minute of every day about keeping Mason safe. The exam was quick, too quick, and Hayden declared the fever likely viral, prescribed fluids and rest, then turned the woman away with nothing more than a printout and a warning not to cause trouble. When they walked back to the truck, the woman's hands trembled. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "You shouldn't have gotten involved." Alex shook his head. No kid should go through the night like that. She clutched the toddler tighter, shoulders curling inward like she expected punishment. "I just need a day," she whispered. "A day to get him stable before we move on. Move on." She said it with the weariness of someone who'd had to move on too many times. Alex exhaled. He knew that feeling. "Come home with me," he said. "My son's with his aunt tonight. You two can rest, that's all." The woman hesitated, then nodded reluctantly, but with the exhaustion of someone whose choices had already run thin. By morning, Maple Ridge was buzzing. Someone had filmed part of the wreck cleanup. Somebody else had caught a blurry shot of Alex carrying the toddler into the clinic. By lunchtime, the gossip mill had invented 5 different versions of the story, none of them kind. At the foundry, whispers followed him down the metal walkways. Picked up a hitchhiker. Drug situation, I bet. Single dads always make dumb decisions. Can't fix machines if he's babysitting strays. Alex ignored them the way he always did. But the words sank deep anyway, collecting like silt in a riverbed. He could feel them sticking to him. When he went to clock out, his supervisor, Ray Stafford, stopped him. "You bringing strangers to town isn't helping our image," Ray said, adjusting the waistband of his expensive belt, a belt he liked showing off, even though half the workforce couldn't afford new boots. "Folks are talking, Alex. Real talk. About what Alex asked. About you. And your kid." Ray's tone sharpened. "Maybe take a few days off, let things settle." Alex stared at him. "I didn't do anything wrong." Ray shrugged. "Perception, buddy. That's what matters. And right now you're looking messy. Messy. Because he helped a woman and child survive a night storm." Alex walked out without another word. But the shame clung to him like the dampness still trapped in his clothes. When he pulled into his driveway that evening, he could hear Mason's laughter from inside. It always softened something in him. But when he opened the door, the sound stopped. Mason sat at the kitchen table with a half-finished science project. The woman, her name was Kara, she'd told him earlier, stood by the sink, rinsing a cup. The toddler slept on the couch, wrapped in one of Mason's old blankets. But Mason's expression? It was tight, worried, more grown-up than a 10-year-old should ever look. "Dad," he said quietly. "Kids at school said you brought home some lady from the highway. They said you're trying to replace Mom." Kara froze. Alex's heart cracked in the old familiar place. He crouched beside his son. "Mace, nothing like that is happening. She just needed help, that's all." "But people said you're in trouble," Mason whispered. "That you might lose your job. And that you," his voice wavered, "that you make bad choices." Alex closed his eyes for a moment. There it was, the thing he feared most, his choices hurting his boy. He smoothed Mason's hair. "You're safe, I promise. And I didn't do anything wrong." Mason nodded, trying to be brave, though his eyes were still clouded with doubt. Across the room, Kara watched silently, guilt pulling at her features like gravity. She whispered, "I can go. Tonight. We'll manage." And suddenly Alex felt the weight of everyone's judgment pressing on all sides: the foundry, the clinic, the town, even the schoolyard where kids repeated the words they heard thrown around their dinner tables. He felt tired. So damn tired. "No," he said gently. "You stay. He needs time to understand." But the pressure was building. He could feel it in the air, in the way the neighbors slowed their cars when passing, in the way his phone kept buzzing with messages he didn't open. Something else was coming. He just didn't know what shape it would take. 3 nights later, things reached a boil. Alex came home late from a shift he wasn't supposed to work. Ray had forgotten to process his leave request and found 2 police cruisers parked along the curb. Their lights weren't flashing, but the presence alone made the street feel colder. An officer stood on the porch, speaking to Kara, who held the toddler close, her face pale with dread. Sir Officer Delgado said as Alex approached, "We received a call about a child in potential danger. Reports of unstable living conditions and an unidentified adult in the home." Alex felt his stomach drop. His neighbors. Of course. "Are you kidding?" he said. "She's done nothing wrong." "Sir, we still need to verify identities and confirm the child is safe." Kara shook, tears threatening. "I have documents," she whispered. "Birth certificate, medical records. They're in my bag, I can." But the toddler clung to her neck, crying softly, sensing every ounce of her fear. Mason stood in the doorway behind them, gripping the frame with white knuckles, eyes wide. "Dad, what's happening?" Alex stepped between the officers and his family, because that's what they were now, whether the town liked it or not. "Everything is fine," he told Mason. But his voice wasn't steady anymore. Delgado looked at Alex with sad understanding. "Let's just handle this calmly. Someone reported that this woman might have abducted the child." Kara's knees nearly buckled. "No," she whispered. No, I never." Alex's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "Who called it in?" he demanded. Delgado shook his head. "Anonymous tip, of course. Cowards always hid behind blocked numbers." The officers moved inside to inspect the environment while neighbors peeked through curtains like vultures circling roadkill. Mason's fear grew raw and visible. Kara looked ready to collapse. The toddler sobbed into her shoulder. And Alex felt something inside him finally hit its limit. The quiet man, the polite, widowed dad, the guy who never made waves. He felt a heat building behind his ribs, slow and steady like a fuse being lit. Delgado returned with a clipboard. "Sir, until documentation proves otherwise, we'll need temporary placement for the child. It's protocol." Kara shook her head violently, backing away, clutching the little boy like an anchor in a storm. "Please," she whispered. Please don't take my baby." Mason began to cry too, the sound cutting straight into Alex's bones. This was the moment, the peak of pressure, the breaking point. Alex stepped forward, planting himself between the officers and the terrified woman behind him. His voice was low, controlled, steel wrapped in calm. "You're not taking him," he said. "Not tonight, not ever. And I'm done letting this town decide who deserves help and who doesn't." Officer Delgado hesitated, sensing a shift in the room, a shift in Alex himself. Something big was coming, and it would change everything. Officer Delgado's expression tightened as Alex said the words, calm, steady, immovable. The kind of calm that meant a man had already made his decision. Consequences be damned. Alex Delgado said carefully, "I understand you're stressed, but if you interfere with state procedure, I'm protecting a child," Alex replied. "If that's a crime, arrest me." Silence spread through the living room like a slow wave. Mason stood frozen in the doorway, his eyes wide, tears drying on his cheeks. Kara held the toddler tighter, whispering soft reassurances that sounded more like prayers. Outside, the porch light cast long shadows across the onlookers gathering at the edge of the yard, neighbors who were all too eager to watch someone else's life split open. Delgado exchanged a glance with his partner, Officer Grant. Both men looked uncomfortable. This was Maple Ridge, after all. A quiet town. They weren't used to scenes like this, Grant muttered. "We got a tip. We have to check it out." "You did check it out," Alex said. "You saw the kid is safe. You saw she's not unstable. You know damn well there's nothing dangerous here. But we need to verify. Then verify with me standing right here." Kara's breath hitched. The toddler. Leo, she'd finally told him, hid his face in her neck, whimpering. Alex stepped forward. "Look at that kid," he said. "Does he look abused, neglected, afraid of the woman holding him?" The officers hesitated. "He's scared of you," Alex added. And it was true. Leo's tiny body shook every time the officers moved closer. Delgado ran a hand over his jaw. He clearly didn't want this to escalate, but protocol had teeth. Grant pulled out his radio. "If we don't complete the extraction and the tip turns out valid, we're liable." Extraction. The word made something inside Alex flash hot. "Say that word again," he said, low and controlled. "And I will stand between you and that door until sunrise." Delgado exhaled sharply. "Alex, we can't leave without the child." That was when the phone rang. Not Alex's, not Kara's. Officer Delgado's radio chirped first, an urgent tone. Then the landline on the kitchen counter began to ring, shrill and insistent. Delgado frowned, holding up a hand for quiet. He answered his radio, listened, then slowly turned toward Grant. "Chief wants us to clear the scene," he murmured. Grant stiffened. "What we haven't." He said, "Step away, now." But before they could move, the kitchen phone kept ringing. Alex walked over and picked it up. "Alex Morgan," a voice said. Professional, firm, slightly out of breath. "This is Deputy Chief Harold Steins. I need you to keep those officers in your home for another moment." Alex blinked. "What's going on?" "We intercepted the tip that came in," Steins said. "Caller left a return number unusual. We traced it. You're gonna want to hear this." Grant and Delgado stood in the living room, confused, their tension rising. "What's the holdup?" Grant hissed. He said, "Clear the scene." Delgado held up a hand. "Wait, something's off." Mason crept closer to Alex, gripping his father's sleeve. Kara sank onto the couch, holding Leo against her chest, like he might disappear if she loosened her arms. The line crackled. "The caller Steins continued claimed the woman in your home stole that child from a hospital 2 towns over, that the boy wasn't hers, that she was violent. A danger. That's a lie, Alex said immediately. Yeah, Steins replied, because the caller said something else. Something specific. She gave the child the wrong last name. Said the boy's last name was Morgan. Alex's heart thudded. Morgan. His own name. Someone is setting her up, Steins said, and they wanted us to make a removal before verifying anything. Who made the call? Alex whispered. A pause. Then Steins said a man identified himself as David Royce. Alex froze so completely he forgot to breathe. Royce. A name he hadn't heard in years. A name tied to the lawsuit after his wife died at Lakeshore Medical. A man who had worked under the surgeon responsible for her death. A man who'd testified coldly, confidently that nothing could have saved her while glaring at Alex like he was a nuisance who deserved no answers. Kara's eyes widened the second she saw his face change. You know that name, she whispered. And something inside Alex locked into place with brutal clarity. Someone from that past, someone tied to the negligence that cost his wife her life, had recognized Kara, or recognized Leo, or recognized something about the wreck from that stormy night. Someone wanted her silenced. Someone wanted the child taken. And someone believed Alex Morgan was still the same grieving, broken man they could push around. They were wrong. So very wrong, Chief Alex said into the phone. Are those officers still under order to remove the child? Steins said. We're halting everything until identities are confirmed. But Alex good. Alex hung up the phone. Delgado straightened. What did he say? That you need to stay put, Alex answered. And that the tip was bogus. Grant bristled. We still need proof. Something official. Kara reached shakily for her worn backpack. I have documents, she whispered. But they said earlier I didn't have enough. That something was missing. Alex turned to her gently. What's missing? Kara swallowed hard. A hospital form. The discharge papers from when Leo was born. They were in my old apartment. I left fast that night. Too fast. Her voice trembled. I think someone took them. Delgado looked between them. If those papers exist, they'll prove maternity, and they're held by the hospital that delivered him. Kara nodded. Riverbend General. Alex grabbed his jacket. Then we're going there. Grant stepped in front of him. You can't just walk into a hospital and demand sealed documents. I'm not demanding, Alex said. I'm retrieving. With your escort, if that makes you feel safer. Grant opened his mouth to argue, but Delgado put a hand on his arm. No, he's right. If someone's interfering with custodial records, we need to see it ourselves. That's not procedure, Grant muttered. It is now, Delgado replied. They drove in separate cars, Delgado and Grant leading Alex behind the wheel with Kara and the children. Kara sat in the passenger seat, barely holding it together. Her fingers twisted anxiously in her lap. You good back there? Maze Alex asked quietly. Yeah, Mason whispered. He was trying to sound brave, but his eyes stayed glued to Kara, like he understood more than Alex wished he did. The 27-minute drive to Riverbend General felt like an hour. When they arrived, the overnight staff was thinning, but security remained. Delgado showed his badge, and they were escorted to records. The clerk, an older woman named Marcy, looked annoyed at the late intrusion. We need birth documents for a child delivered 2 years ago, Delgado said. Name Marcy asked. Leonard Harper, Kara whispered. Marcy typed, paused, frowned. There's a note on this file, she said slowly. It was accessed last week, unusual authorization. By who, Alex asked. She hesitated. It says Dr. Royce. Alex felt his blood go cold. Delgado leaned forward. Is there a maternity match? Marcy clicked again. There should be. But it's missing. Kara swallowed a sob. He erased me. No, Alex murmured, stepping closer to the counter. He tried. He pointed at the screen. Check the backup server, not the main system. The local archive. Marcy's brows lifted. How do you know about that? Alex drew a steady breath. My wife's records were tampered with 6 years ago. Same hospital, same doctor. I learned where everything gets hidden. Marcy blinked, then quietly turned her monitor so no one else could see. Her fingers flew across the keys. A moment later, her face changed surprise, then anger. It's here, she whispered. All of it. The original birth file, mother's name Kara Harper, father unknown, and the discharge papers Delgado asked. She nodded. Filed, stamped, never should have been touched. Print it, Alex said. Marcy printed the entire file, sealed it in a hospital envelope, and placed it in Kara's hands. Kara held the packet like a lifeline. Tears streamed freely down her cheeks. Thank you, she whispered. Grant stared at Alex differently now, like seeing him for the first time. You said your wife's files were tampered with, Grant murmured. By Royce. Alex's jaw tightened. Yes, and he's coming after this woman too. Alex didn't answer. He didn't have to. The truth hung in the air like a storm ready to break. They exited the hospital just as dawn tinted the sky. But the parking lot wasn't empty. A silver sedan sat idling across the way. The driver stepped out. David Royce. Still wearing the same clinical arrogance Alex remembered from the courtroom. Same slick hair. Same smug smirk. He clapped slowly. Well done, Alex Royce said. You always did have a talent for digging into things that aren't your concern. Delgado stepped between them immediately. Sir, you need to step back. Royce ignored him. That child, Royce continued, pointing at Leo, belongs in protective custody until further review. Kara recoiled. Alex moved in front of her. Not another step, Alex warned. Royce chuckled. You think you're a hero? Fixing pipes and patching machines. You're nothing. You always were, and you're standing in the way of what needs to be done. Alex's breath steadied. 6 years of grief sharpened into something clean, something razor-edged. I'm done letting you decide what needs to be done. Royce sneered and reached into his coat too fast. Delgado shouted, hands where I can see them. In the chaos, Leo cried out in terror. And that was the moment Alex moved. Not thinking. Not analyzing. Just acting. He pushed Kara and the kids behind a parked truck, shielding them with his body just as Royce pulled out not a weapon, but a stack of forged custody papers and began charging toward them. But Alex didn't know that yet. Instinct had taken over. The same instinct that once guided steady hands across delicate engineering boards. The same instinct that made him hold his dying wife and promise Mason he'd always keep him safe. The same instinct that said, not again. Not on my watch. Royce stumbled as Alex intercepted him, grabbing the man's wrist and pinning him against the hood of a car with a force that surprised even himself. Grant rushed in. Delgado followed. The forged documents scattered to the pavement like falling leaves. Kara gasped. Mason stared in stunned awe. Leo clung to her neck and whispered the only word he seemed to trust Alex. Royce struggled, but was quickly restrained. This is assault, he spat. I'll ruin you. No, Delgado said, cuffing him. You're done ruining people. Starting now." Royce's face drained when he saw the envelope of recovered birth records in Kara's hands. And in that moment, the power dynamic shifted entirely. Alex wasn't the quiet widower anymore. Not the factory guy. Not the man Maple Ridge pitied or whispered about. He was the one who saw the danger. The one who moved first. The one who protected a family that wasn't even officially his yet, but was his in every way that mattered. And everyone there knew it, especially the woman standing behind him crying softly into her son's hair, and the boy beside her who whispered, "That's my dad." For a long moment, no one moved. The parking lot lights buzzed overhead, casting everyone in a pale yellow glow, and the only sound was Leo's soft sniffles, muffled against Kara's shoulder. Officer Delgado finished securing the cuffs on Royce, while Grant collected the scattered papers, shaking his head in disbelief at the forged signatures. Even the early morning hospital staff lingering by the ambulance bay stood frozen watching as the scene sank in. Alex stepped back, finally realizing his hands were still trembling, not from fear, but from the adrenaline that hadn't yet left his bloodstream. He felt Mason slip his small hand into his own, squeezing it. Alex looked down and saw something in his son's eyes he hadn't seen in years. Absolute pride. No confusion, no doubt, no fear, just pride. Dad Mason whispered, voice thick, you protected them." Alex swallowed hard. "That's what we do," he said quietly. "We protect the people in front of us." But even as the tension slowly drained from the air, Alex could feel something else rising, something that had been building for years. Questions. Recognition. A faint, curious unease as the officers and hospital employees kept glancing his way, whispering among themselves. Delgado straightened and approached him. "Alex, what you did back there, most folks wouldn't have stepped in like that." Alex shrugged, uneasy under the attention. He didn't do it for praise. But then Grant, normally as stiff as drywall and twice as humorless, joined him as well. "You moved like you knew he'd try something," Grant said. "Like you've dealt with people like him before." Alex didn't respond, because that wasn't just instinct. It was memory. And memory hurt. Kara reached for his sleeve, cautiously, eyes searching him. "You grabbed him before anyone else even understood what he was doing," she whispered. How did you know?" Alex exhaled slowly, staring at the pavement. Royce's mocking expression was still burned into the back of his skull. A face he'd seen in court. A face that told him he wasn't worth answers. That his wife's death was a footnote on a form. That the truth didn't matter. Alex lifted his gaze at last. "I knew," he said softly, "because he did it before." Kara blinked. "What do you mean?" Delgado's posture stiffened. "You're saying this man was involved with your wife's—" "Yes," Alex said. "He was." The parking lot went silent again. "He was the attending surgeon the night my wife died," Alex continued. "Not the lead that was someone else, but Royce was in the room. He and another doctor wrote a report that kept me from learning what really happened. They said it was a sudden complication, unpreventable. But I always knew something was wrong." He gestured toward the scattered, forged paperwork. "And tonight, he tried to do the same thing. Forge enough documents to bury someone else's truth." Kara's breath caught. "You never told me you had a connection to him." Alex shook his head. "You had enough to carry already. I didn't want to put my pain on you." Delgado exchanged a glance with Grant, something between concern and respect. "What did he cover up?" Delgado asked quietly. Alex hesitated, the memory hitting like a blow. "My wife was 9 months pregnant. We went in for early labor pains. Something went wrong during the epidural prep, and he paused, gripping the edge of a nearby car for balance. They mishandled the medication. She coded before they even got her into surgery. Kara's hand flew to her mouth. And they told me afterward Alex said voice cracking for the first time all night. Some things just happen, Mr. Morgan. Like I was supposed to accept it, like she hadn't just vanished. His throat tightened. I didn't know for sure it was a lie, but I couldn't prove anything. My career? It fell apart. I couldn't focus. I left engineering, started fixing machines instead of building them because it was the only way to stay close to the hospital without breaking apart. Delgado looked stunned. Alex, how did you never say anything? Would you have believed me? Alex asked softly. The question landed harder than a punch. Delgado closed his eyes. Grant looked like he'd swallowed glass. Kara stepped closer, one shaky hand touching Alex's arm. I had no idea, she whispered. You've been carrying that alone this whole time, Alex tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. I didn't want Mason to live in the shadow of my anger. So I shoveled steel at the foundry, fixed machines, kept my head down. Everyone thought I was the quiet widower who never rocked the boat. That was easier for them. What about you? Kara asked gently. Was it easier for you? Alex met her eyes, dark, exhausted, but honest. No, but it kept my son safe. That was enough. Royce, still handcuffed and fuming, hissed, "This is all irrelevant. Nothing you say changes the fact she's unstable and hiding information." Delgado stepped toward him so fast the man flinched. Not another word, the officer snapped. You forged state custody documents. You accessed sealed hospital files illegally. And now we have the person you targeted stating you tampered with records in another case. That case was closed, Royce spat. Not anymore, Delgado said. Grant nodded at Alex. You were right. He did this before. The shift was visible. The same officers who'd entered Alex's home with suspicion now looked at him with something like remorse. But the biggest shift came from Kara. She stepped forward. Alex, if you hadn't stopped tonight, if you hadn't known what he was doing or why he shook his head, anyone would have stepped in. No, she said firmly. Not anyone. Not most. But you did. Her voice wavered. And not just for us. You did it because you couldn't watch another lie swallow a family whole. Alex's breath caught. She understood. She saw him. Really saw him. And the parking lot suddenly felt like the first place he'd been able to breathe in years. Hospital Administrator Sylvia Pace, a woman known for her ice-cold professionalism, hurried out through the ER doors. Her heels clicked sharply against the pavement until she spotted Royce restrained on the ground. She stopped short. What is going on? She demanded. Delgado handed her the forged custody papers. And that's only the start, he said. Sylvia scanned them, her face drained. These signatures, these stamps, dear God. She looked up, horrified. Dr. Royce, did you fabricate these? Did you really? Royce tried to sneer, but it collapsed halfway. You need me here. You know damn well what happens if this goes public. It's already public, Sylvia said. And you're finished. Her gaze shifted to Alex. Mr. Morgan, I remember you now. You were the family who filed a conflict of care inquiry years ago. We rejected your follow-up letter. Alex nodded once. You rejected it unopened. Sylvia closed her eyes, shame tightening her posture. We were wrong. So terribly wrong. There it was. Not justice yet. But the first crack of truth finally breaking through. She turned to the officers. We'll fully cooperate with your investigation. And Mr. Morgan. She hesitated, swallowing. If you're willing, I'd like to speak further with you about reopening your wife's file. Alex felt the air leave his chest. For years he'd imagined someone saying those words, not because it would bring her back, but because truth had a way of making the world settle into place again. Grant cleared his throat. Alex, if this goes to court, they'll need someone with technical expertise to help explain the discrepancies in those old records. The kind of eye that understands both engineering and medical equipment. Delgado nodded. And someone who knew the staff back then. Someone who saw the culture. Someone the community trusts. They were circling around something. Something Alex hadn't expected to hear in his lifetime. What are you saying? He asked slowly. Delgado met his gaze. The county is forming a multidisciplinary review board, he said, to re-examine malpractice claims. We need someone like you, someone who actually gets it. Alex's mind went blank. You want me on the board? He asked. Not want, Grant corrected. We need you. Kara's hand slipped into his. Her voice was soft but steady. You deserve the chance to rebuild what was taken from you, she said. To protect other families the way you protected us. Alex stared at the hospital doors, those same doors he'd walked through years ago with a heart full of hope and walked out of with his life in pieces. And now, the path forward was opening again. Not the same path. A harder one. A braver one. But one he could walk. For Mason. For his wife's memory. For Kara and Leo. For every person who ever got buried under lies. He looked down at the toddler still clinging to Kara's shoulder, his small face tired but trusting, and Alex nodded. Tell me what I need to do, he said. The sun crested the horizon, then washing the parking lot with pale gold. It felt like a beginning, or something close enough to believe in. And for the first time in years, Alex Morgan didn't feel like a widower, or a factory worker, or a man surviving loss. He felt like someone who could build again, fix again, fight again. This time for something bigger than himself. The morning after the hospital confrontation, Alex expected the backlash to hit hard. Small towns rarely let go of their opinions overnight. But something was different when he stepped outside his house. The same neighbors who once watched him with suspicion now approached with hesitant nods, murmured apologies, or simple earnest thank yous. A few brought casseroles, the universal Midwestern peace offering. Others stopped him at the grocery store with gentle handshakes, telling him they'd heard what he did, and that they were sorry for not seeing him more clearly before. At the foundry, the shift floor went silent when he walked in. Ray Stafford approached, bracing for the worst. But instead of the usual dismissive tone, he looked humbled, almost human. Alex, he said quietly, I misjudged you. Badly. I shouldn't have listened to gossip, and I shouldn't have pushed you the way I did. The plant would like to support you on the review board however we can. It wasn't friendship, but it was respect, something Alex hadn't felt from that place in years. He accepted the apology with a nod, and walked on, feeling lighter than he expected. Later that afternoon at the county offices, the administrators gathered in a cramped conference room. Files were laid out, coffee cups filled the table, and every eye turned toward Alex as he entered. Not with pity this time, but with genuine trust. The board appointment was official within an hour. One of the older board members, a retired surgeon named Marlon Briggs, clapped him on the shoulder. It's good to have someone who understands both people and machines, he said. We've needed that balance. Alex didn't know how to respond, but he felt something click into place inside him, a missing piece returning home. Kara waited outside in the hallway with Leo on her hip, and Mason clutching a notebook from school. When she saw Alex exit the conference room, her smile was small, but full of quiet pride. So she asked. "It's real," he said. "They want me, for the long run." Mason cheered and threw his arms around his dad. Leo copied him a second later, wrapping both arms around Alex's shin, giggling. Kara stepped closer, her voice soft. "You earned this, every bit of it." Alex looked at her, at the kids, at the unbelievable circle of life that had brought them all into that hallway. "It feels like the first right step I've taken in a long time." She nodded. "That's because it is." Months passed, and autumn settled over Maple Ridge, with its usual quiet beauty, golden leaves lining the sidewalks, the smell of bonfires drifting through the air. But nothing in Alex's life was the same. The review board grew stronger with every case they reopened. Some findings led to long-delayed accountability. Others offered overdue clarity to families who'd lived in limbo for years. Alex's engineering background helped uncover discrepancies that would have slipped past anyone else. He became known as the steady one, the man who listened longer than he talked, the man who spoke softly, but only when the truth finally revealed itself. Kara rebuilt her own life beside him. Riverbend General hired her as a patient advocate, valuing the fierce compassion she brought to each family walking through those doors. Her past no longer defined her. Instead, it fueled her mission to shield others from harm. Leo blossomed under her care, confident, curious, finally sleeping through the night without fear. And he never stopped calling Alex by name, but over time the word softened, grew warmer. Dad. Just Dad. Mason adjusted better than Alex ever imagined, tutoring Leo in reading and proudly introducing Kara at school as family. Their household became loud in the best way, two boys arguing over board games, late-night homework on the kitchen table, music echoing through hallways Alex once walked in silence. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, Alex realized he was healing too. He cleaned out the last box of his wife's belongings, not with grief, but with gratitude. He hung a framed photo of her in the living room, not as a wound, but as a reminder of the path that had shaped him into the man he finally was. On the one-year anniversary of the night he found Kara and Leo on that stormy road, the family took a drive to the overlook above Lake Marin. The sky had the same bruised purple glow as the night everything changed, but the storm clouds stayed calm on the horizon. They spread out a blanket and shared sandwiches while the kids ran circles in the grass. Kara leaned against Alex, her voice warm. "You know, I used to think surviving was the same thing as living," she said. "But it's not. You taught me that." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You taught me something too. That letting people in isn't the same thing as losing someone." She smiled, tears glimmering, but not falling. Leo ran up and flung himself into both their laps. Mason followed, collapsing dramatically beside them. And for a long, peaceful moment, the four of them sat there backlit by the fading sun, wrapped in the simple, breathtaking truth that they were a family forged through fire, pain, courage, and grace. A family chosen, a family earned, a family found. As the last light dipped behind the tree line, Alex watched his boys chase fireflies in the tall grass, their laughter rising into the evening air. Dad Mason called out, "Are we staying here a while?" Alex nodded. "Yeah," he said softly. "We're staying. We're right where we're meant to be." And in that moment, with the wind carrying the sound of their joy across the lake, he understood something he'd never fully grasped before. Healing isn't about erasing the storms you survived. It's about learning that sometimes the people who arrive in the darkest rain are the ones who lead you home.